Well, folks, what is happening? Welcome to Mentality Monsters. And a shout out to our sponsor for today, our Kings. You'll hear more about them later on in the episode. And today's guest is a boxing coach, business owner, and MMA striking coach, Mr. Donard McNally. Donard, cheers for coming on, mate.
Thank you very much for having me on.
Appreciate it. You're rocking the Paul Hughes tap. I love it.
Oh, aye.
I love it.
The original one, is it?
That is class. I need to get a hold of one of them there. I need to get
They're
a hold
nice, they're nice. I have every one. Like, because of Coach Paul, obviously, for so long, like, every time he gets the kits, he gets me one.
Lethal.
Most of my wardrobe's Paul Hughes t-shirts.
Are you able to buy them online?
Yeah. Well, you used to be able to. I think it was like Capture and then a couple of other Berg Sports and stuff done them, but I'm not sure what the crack is with the new ones. But,
like, see the Fight Academy logo and stuff like that there. It's fucking class.
no, it's nice.
It's lethal. But how are you keeping that anyway, mate?
Good, mate. All's good.
Flat out.
So I was working this morning there, had a busy week, and then just head up, we podcast, and then take the rest of the weekend off.
Yeah. So, see, for like a week for you, a normal week, what does it consist of?
So, within the unit, like I would do my classes there, where I would be coaching the fundamental boxing classes, and then I would have a few fighters who would have in obviously for one-to-one sessions, and I'm also up in Fight Academy Ireland taking their fighters through the boxing class as well.
Unreal. And what do you prefer, the unit classes or the Fight Academy classes? Because it's two different, like boxing and MMA is two different like things.
Like, I do honestly love both of them for different reasons. You know, and it's actually good to mix it up. Do you know what I mean? Like, if I was doing the same thing all the time, it would probably get a wee bit repetitive. Where it's good, 1 minute I'm coaching an elite fighter like Paul, next minute I'm in the unit, and it's somebody coming through the doors for the first time, and I honestly enjoyed it a lot.
Can you spot potential in someone from one or two like sessions?
Yeah, well, it's hard to spot potential because like there's a lot of things come into play when you're talking about like fighters advancing on. But through time there will be wee things you will see in people, and you'll start to recognize their potential as well. Like I've seen it in the likes of Paul from a young age, seen it in the likes of big Paddy McCrory, Caine McClurkin, Joe, like a lot of the guys I've worked with over the years, even Garrett Smiley. I've noticed it after a while working with them, like this person can go like to the top.
Yeah. Is there any fighters in the unit now at the minute or in Fight Academy that you think has the potential to go to the very top?
The more the ones who you wouldn't,
like our least established
ones. GMG Hughes has definitely showed me a lot of potential. Nathan Mulligan and Damien McGuigan, they're the three that come to my head first whenever I'm thinking about all the lads. And then you'd have Corey. Corey just turned pro there, and although his first one didn't go the way he wanted it to, like, he showed me a lot of potential as well. Then you have the likes of Matt Elliott, who's in Cage Wars and doing well, but could definitely go all the way.
Who's the fella? I think when I was standing beside you in Cage, the conflict at the very start. Josh, is it?
Yeah, Joshua, yeah.
Joshua, it was just so calm and collected. He was just like his aura and his presence.
Big time, his presence was so good.
And I was just like that lad was like jumping about. You can tell he's a
not
bit jittery.
Something that comes with loads of experience. Like, although Josh has been in MMA training for a long time now, I think that was his second fight. So, like, to be able to transfer it into the cage for a fight was great to see, because that, like what you just said there, being present in the moment, no distractions in there, setting things up, etc. Like, it takes a lot of experience and confidence to do it.
See, one thing which, like, obviously I've only started doing MMA from the start of the year, like, and I love it. I think it's fucking unreal.
Yeah.
But one thing that I didn't expect was there's so many things. Like, for one move, there's 4 or 5 counters, which you need to be aware of, and you know, and then there's 4 or 5 counters for that as well. And I'm just like, there's so much fucking things. Like,
even around coaching, like if I'm explaining a move to somebody and they're saying, what about this counter? I'm like, listen, there is no move in fighting that is 100% safe and has no counter to it. So it's just a matter of playing with the better options. Do you know what I mean? So it all comes down to that, rather than doing this one thing and it's completely safe. It's never the case in fighting.
Not to jump too far ahead and stuff like that, because we're going to go back to the start of your journey.
Yeah.
But would you teach your fighters to think more strategically and kind of like a game of chess and wear their opponent down, or would it be taking the risk of going for that risky fucking combo or going for that risky move?
So each fight is going to present different scenarios. Different in the training camps now with the likes of Paul. You can watch opponents and you can see where weaknesses are and strengths are there. But at the start, maybe you don't have footage of an opponent. It's important to get the fighter to understand why they're doing things. the likes of setting things up, the likes of escaping after attacks, like we things like that are very important, and I think sometimes overlooked. Sometimes you'll see fighters doing things, and then whenever you explain to them more and more detail and why they're doing it, it just click the penny drops. And I think like with my coaching, I always try and get it across of like, this is what we're doing. This is why we do this, and this is hard to do it. This is the best time to do it, and try and get them a proper understanding of what they're doing.
See, for your coaching, would you ever jump in to any of the BJJ classes or grappling or anything? Like, have you tried yourself out in that field?
I've jumped in the grappling a few times. Do you know what? Which was unfair for me. My first grapple, I think it was my first handful of grapples, right? Caine McClurgan, beast. Brian Roddy, beast. Pat McAllister, beast. So, like, my first experience with grappling, I remember grappling Kyle, say, and feeling him and going, does everybody feel like this? Like, this is mad. But then whenever, obviously, you joined, like, a club and went for a while, a few sessions, you realise, no, he's just an absolute specimen. And not everybody's like that. But I would jump in the odd time to do a bit of grappling, but I do find it hard to pick it up. But I've had the privilege to have such good coaches, the likes of Ryan Roddy. Used to come up to the unit and take a wee class, Cormac Copeland, and then Big Kyle and Pat, like two of the fucking best in the country for it. Like,
have you ever been humbled?
So many times, yeah. Like Pat one time had me in Mount, covering my mouth where I couldn't breathe, and I'm just like, yeah, I would be done. Like,
that's
like I went into it like I expected that. Do you know what I mean? Like, if I had been in not expecting it, it would have been way worse. But I know enough about boxing and martial arts to realize, like, if somebody's at a high level, like, there's going to be a difference.
100%. So, bro, if you can just take us back to the very start, what were you like as a young person growing up, and where are you from?
Yeah, so whenever you say, I actually said, dude, what's the topics we're going to be talking about? And I just seen this as the first question, and I was like, fuck, what a hard question. Growing up, so grew up, obviously, we were talking before, in St. James's area in West Belfast, and grew up just living with both parents, my sister in the house, and my grandparents lived in the same street. So growing up, well, how would I describe myself growing up?
It's always hard to speak about yourself, I think.
No, definitely. Whenever I seen this question, I was like, this is going to be the one I'm going to struggle with most. Growing up, just pretty easy going. Always making a joke out of things. Never took life too serious. Like, and just enjoyed and tried to enjoy life like as best I could. Like growing up, and
like, would you have been out drinking and partying and stuff like that there as a young person?
So, when I was around 13, 14, we'll say, my man Dad probably watched this, 15 maybe, my man Daddy, probably started trying out alcohol and stuff, but was never into drugs, like never tried drugs. And luckily enough, I met my wife now. I met her whenever I was 15, she was 14, and it steered me obviously in a good direction where I maybe avoided like partying and stuff, and maybe wasn't in that type of thing at that age, which was good.
What age are you now?
31.
31, so you're only like a few years older than like myself. I'm 28. Do you think, see, growing up, like, have you got kids now?
Yeah, two kids, two
and
boys.
2 kids. Do you think growing up in today's day and age is more challenging than growing up when we like grew up?
Definitely, like for different reasons. My generation, like we in St. James's, there was loads of us. There was like over 20 friends, but we were all good friends growing up. But we were the last generation of maybe not having the pressures of social media and things like that, which is something I think about as a parent for the likes of Donard and Jack's growing up. You kind of go, fuck, it's going to be hard, because then you have like things like online bullying and like comparison and like addiction to social media and stuff. Like, so there's obviously going to be different challenges they're gonna have to handle than I had to.
What age are your kids now?
Donard's 5 and Jack's is 7 months.
So, like, I see a lot of people nowadays, they get their kids' phones at, like, say, 8 or 9 and stuff like that there. What is your stance like going to be like that? Are you going to try to keep them away from technology as much as possible?
Not so much technology, but definitely social media. Like, me and my wife Stacey, we've had this conversation, and it's like I understand they'll be on the games in the iPad playing the wee games and watching the likes of it's Peppa Pig and stuff, but like in terms of going on social media and stuff, thankfully we're nowhere near that yet, hopefully. But when it comes to it, it'll definitely have to be a conversation we'll have and agree on. Like,
What was the thing you most enjoyed about growing up in West Belfast?
I would say just the friendships in the community, like, because St James's was a close knit community. Like I said, we're all grown up really good friends, people I'm still friends with today, and I would say that was the best thing about growing up in that area was everybody was so close and like the likes of your neighbours and all. Like I would get on with all my neighbours, know 90% of them by name and stuff. So I feel like just the community thing was the best.
Is it still like that now? And the community feeling?
Yeah, it is. It is still like that now. But like, whenever I'm driving through St James's now, I'll see maybe a lot less kids at the street corners playing football, and you see less of it. I don't know. Like sometimes I go, "With there's not much kids living here," but then they're probably all in the house on the game, but a lot of them, there's still a lot of sporting activities around the area. So the likes of St James's Swifts and stuff. So a lot of them are probably training now, which is probably a better thing than standing on street corners.
Like their heads are down into something. And
yeah.
kids are committing to sports now, I think, a lot younger. Like I saw a video of I was in doing, like this is about a month ago, in doing a 1-to-1 I'm session with Henry Corrigan, and there was a kid in before and he was about 7 and I was like, that kid would beat me up. That kid was fucking
15 years, how are people going to do that? Like,
if anyone goes to him in the playground, they're fucked.
I know, exactly.
I was just like, what the fuck? But
it's great to see as well, like, and the kids in young to the MMA.
What do you think about that, the junior league that they're running?
Is it Adam McGarty runs it?
Adam and Henry.
Yeah, they're two. Adam's a brilliant lad, like, see, especially with the young kids coming from Fate Academy Ireland, like, what a guy, like.
So what is he? Is he a strength and conditioning coach as well?
I think Adam started out doing a bit of strength and conditioning, but he done MMA himself, and then later on he would work with Shando and Pat. I think he would do I don't want to talk to. I think he would do mostly striking, maybe a bit of grappling, but he's a very good coach. He's very knowledgeable.
On Paul's vlogs.
Yeah, great guy, good lad as well. Like,
see, growing up in West Belfast, what's the worst thing?
Worst thing about growing up in West
Belfast? Most negative thing about growing up in your day, just like.
Most negative thing about growing up, probably, like, looking back now, probably the antisocial behaviour, like the likes of the drinking, the drugs, and all coming in from a young age. Like, yeah, that would be it.
Joyriding as well, I'd say, like back then.
Things like that as well.
Like, seeing you think of West and North Belfast, like, it's like I do think there is, there is a difference. I think in North and West Belfast, just like in the behaviours and stuff like that there, which is mad. Like,
so? What would you notice?
Like, see, growing up in North Belfast, it's mad. Like obviously you're from Ardoyne. It's a community which is kind of like on the thing with the shank, also with like an interface and stuff like that there. But you used to fight with the Westies more than you would have fought with the Prods.
Loads of people do say that, but I would never really pick up on it.
As well, Ardoyne and New Lodge would probably be the worst.
Yeah,
they hate each other. I don't know why. Like see, growing up now, when you're like 28 and you're sitting like back on all these things, you're just like, this place is mad.
Because we had like the down the rollers, upper rollers, Weight Rocks and James's Beachmount. Looking back, you're right. You laugh at it.
How did you apply yourself in school?
School. Like, I think what I loved about school was, again, just your friends and all that. But like education, like, I didn't really love it. I was never really into much like subjects. But it was more for me getting being around your mates, having good crack and all. And then once I was around about 16, I started to apply myself in the sports coaching and done like the HND and sports coaching and development and stuff. And I was like, right, it's not that I didn't like education, just maybe didn't like the subjects in school that you done. And once it was something I was a wee bit interested in or took an interest in, I was able to apply myself a lot better.
Has sports always been a passion?
Not whenever I was really young. Whenever I got into boxing and stuff, I loved it. But in terms of like all sports, I would really only follow boxing and MMA. Like, if you tried to have a conversation with me about the likes of football and stuff, like, if I'm in a taxi and the taxi man saying to me, "Here, what about him coming in?" and I'm just like, "Mate, I'm not that
guy." just stop that. Just stop. Did you have a clear vision for yourself when you were, say, 16, 17 when all the
Um,
partying's going on and you're not getting involved in it?
no, definitely not. Like I didn't have a clear vision. Like I can't come on here and say that I did. Like I would say, like I get into my training. I wanted to do well in boxing. Obviously, it was with it was my girlfriend at the time, and we had our own things where we wanted to travel and things like that. But I think everybody was for an age where they're maybe from their 16 till 20, where they don't know what direction to go
Yeah.
for, and everybody puts a lot of pressure on themselves at that age. But I feel like if you just do things, you'll things will like you'll maybe find your interests and
Things will fall into place.
pursue that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because people always say like, how did you figure out you wanted to do that? But at the time, it was maybe just dipping my toes in, and then went right. That's good work, and then went further into it, and then it became what I'm doing now.
And do you think you've got it like figured out now?
No,
No.
no,
No.
I don't think you really ever figure it out. Like
It's,
obviously, like there's a more clear path on what I want to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like anything can happen.
see, I was watching a video and there's like it said in your 20s is where you fuck up, the
Yeah.
30s is where you start working, and then the 40s is where you figure it out. And do
Yeah,
it,
yeah,
like-
I've
like
seen
do
that
all
as well. That same one.
But I don't even think in my 40s I'm gonna have it figured out, which is
I don't
I
think
think it's just
anybody really
it's a
does. Like,
journey.
especially whenever you become a parent, like whenever you're a kid and you think about your own parents, you feel like they know everything and my man and dad know all the answers. And but then whenever you, not that my man and dad didn't, but whenever you become a parent yourself, you start to go, fuck, like there's a lot I still don't know here, and like, do you know what I mean?
See, when you had your first child, did you think, fuck, I'm responsible now for a human?
Yeah.
Do you still feel like that there?
No, it just
No.
comes more natural now. Obviously, like with the two now, thankfully it becomes more natural. But when Stacey was pregnant with Donald, like that was a lot of my stresses at the time. Was like feeling like I had to have it figured out, and all that pressure of like I'm responsible for somebody now. And all.
Yeah.
Like, and obviously we're gonna get into it later in the
Yeah.
podcast, like later on here. But yeah, that was a big factor that led to
And what happened?
yeah.
Yeah. So we'll go back to starting off in boxing. So how did you actually like get yourself like started off? Because most people that I do get on, I've got see like some McConnell and stuff like that.
Yeah.
There, Tron and Tommy. I can see their careers. I can see their amateur careers, see their
Yep.
professional fights and stuff like that. There, but what was your boxing career like for you?
So I got into boxing whenever I was around 9. Snags's boxing club, and again it was like a big crowd of us went from St James's, and like everybody would have been in the boxing club, and I stuck around until it was maybe 3-4 years of done it, and then I took like a gap away from it, and then I got into it later on down the line, whenever I was in secondary school around 16. So there was a gap between 12 and 16 to 17 where I didn't do nothing, and then whenever I got back into it again through my friend D Sully, he joined the boxing club, and he was saying about it, and he knew I used to box, and he says, you should come down, and I says, right, I'll go down, but I'm not getting into us competing and all again. I'll
Yeah.
just go down for a bit of crack. And then one thing led to another, and I ended up competing and stuff again after that.
And was this like amateur level?
Amateur level, yeah.
And how did that go for you?
All right, pretty, like, a lot of my fights, a lot of the competitions I entered, I won by walkover. So meaning whenever I was 16, 15 maybe, I was 91 kilo. So there wasn't really any other ones that age that weight. So a lot of the times it was like, oh, here's your medal, like there's nobody here to fight you. But like a few competitions I would have got a semi-final and a final. But like I fought in the likes of the Ulsters, won the Ulster Championships, fought in the All-Irelands a few times, competing a few finals and stuff, fought in the UKs, done okay on that, but nothing really. Like I'm a lot better. I'd like to think I'm a lot better coach than I was fighter myself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
What did you enjoy most about boxing?
I love the training and stuff, and just like I feel like the further I get into my boxing career, like at the start, I wouldn't really have overthought fighting and stuff, and then the later on it got, like I would have been more like nervous coming up the fights and all. But at the start, it was just like whatever, and you'd expect it to be the other way around, where the more experience you get, the easier it is to handle. But I found it the opposite way, where like the more I was fighting and the more experience I got, and the higher level I went, that like the more I was like have to perform here and putting like them pressures on myself and stuff.
And how did you deal with pressures like that at that time?
I remember one of my coaches saying to me, and it really stuck with me. And I said that a lot of the lads now, like going into a fight, he's like, you're going to do it anyway. So like you're going in here to fight, so you can let the nerves control you to the point where they affect your performance, or else you can try and let the nerves work with you to make you perform well. And I remember going like sitting before a fight and thinking like being nervous and stuff as you do like, and thinking right, I'll not let these nerves affect me here, and hopefully go in and make the performance better.
That's like it is like so true because I watched the video there. Like I would like during my training sessions, I'll always have like a motivational speech or something like that.
Yeah.
They're just going on in the air just so it's someone who's constantly on me when I'm doing my runs and stuff like that. There and like in one of the videos, it says the stuff you're worrying about, regardless if you're worrying about it, it's gonna happen anyway.
Yeah.
So worrying about it, taking like that worry away is half the battle.
Yep.
So like, see, it is like so true. We worry about things that are completely outside of like our control.
Most of the times it don't even happen.
And yeah, so I think that's like it's something which I'm starting to not master, but something which I'm starting to implement a lot into my life. Where there's external things outside which I can't have a control on. So why would I worry about them?
Controlling the controllables.
Yeah, 100%. Like, if you love the thrill of winning big, then you need to check out our Kings competitions, the UK and Ireland's top spot for incredible praise competitions. They're giving you the chance to win luxury cars, dream holidays, top tech, and even life-changing cash prizes, all for a fraction of the cost. And what's the best part of this? Entering is super easy. So you just need to go on, select your competition, grab your tickets, and then you're in for a shot at winning big. With guaranteed winners in every draw and some of the most amazing prizes out there, our Kings is the place to be if you want to turn a little into a lot. So, what are you waiting for? Head over to www.ourkingscompetitions.com now and grab your tickets, and you could be our next big winner. That's Our Kings Competitions, where dreams become reality, and enter today. So we kind of like touched on this here earlier as well. But from your experience and you like you've trained some high elite fighters, what is the biggest mental challenge fighters face when transitioning from a training camp and sparring until an actual fight? Or is there any mental challenges they face?
Yeah, no, there is mental challenges they face. They obviously would put a lot of times people think fighters are going into fights and they're nervous because they maybe don't want to get hurt. But a lot of the times the pressure they put on themselves is wanting to perform really well, showcase their skills, and like not look stupid or do stupid things. And that would be the things that they would be putting pressure on themselves about. It's not actually going, I hope I don't get hurt in here. Like that thought would maybe really cross their mind as much.
One thing which I've like noticed with MMA clubs compared to boxing is that there's not a lot of ego there.
And you find less ego in the MMA clubs?
Less in the MMA, where what I've noticed with some boxers, like I've seen in clubs and stuff like that, they know they're good. So they know they're fucking, they're a bit cocky and stuff like that there. Where MMA, it just seems it's very humble and everyone's very helpful and stuff like that there. Do you think having a big ego is an advantage or disadvantage?
Like having an ego can be beneficial, but it can also like affect your performance as well. Like having an ego in terms of being competitive and having that self-belief, and you need all these things, right? But having an ego to the point where you think you know best and you're not a good teammate and things like that, like it would actually like take away from your performance and your training, I think. So like nobody's gonna want the best for you. If you're coming and telling your coaches what to do, maybe going very hard and sparring with everybody, even beginners and stuff, nobody's gonna really want to train you or train with you or like want you to go as far as you want to go.
100%.
So it's important to get that balance between the ego where you're like I says, competitive and pushing yourself and wanting the best, but not letting it get out of control. I would say trying to find the balance with it would be important.
I would say like see one person like I love his aura and watching him and stuff like that there like is Paul.
Yeah.
Just because the way he conducts himself and like he always holds a good account of himself.
Yeah.
His self-belief, see even in camp, is it the same as when he's on the camera and he's doing the likes of his PFL vlogs and his journey and stuff like that there? Has he got that same like self belief every
It's the
day?
exact same.
The exact same.
Like not obviously not every day. Like he's not a robot. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like he's obviously gonna have some downtime as well. But like one story I'll tell you about Paul here. We were in Dubai, obviously for the world title fight, and even in the corner in the change room, sometimes the coaches would get a bit nervous. But see with Paul, like it was the biggest fight I'd ever cornered in, and it was probably the most confident I've ever been in a corner, just because I was feeding off his energy. Like I've never been around a fighter in the change room so confident, and I know the fight didn't go his way. It was a close fight, and it could have went either way maybe, but the confidence in the change room, the self belief, like it fed into the energy, into the coaches and everybody. And Paul, like what you see on the vlogs and stuff, is what you get. Like that's the real Paul.
Like I'd say you have watched this fight over fucking 10 or 20 times now at this stage. Do you think the turning point was the second ball hit? It seemed to be the sting.
Yeah,
kind of came out of the out of the fight after that.
that was on Paul though. It was like so. Paul was obviously up and wanting back at it, and he got the point. Usman got the point deducted, which was good. But the thing was the head clash. Can you remember the head clash? Killed the momentum.
It's hard to forget that there.
Do you know? I know.
The licking of blood.
I was watching it back, and you see Paul licking the blood, and you just hear me in the corner go, "Paul," and he looks around, and I'm like, "In the zone," and he's like, "Sorry."
See one thing which I loved. We were watching the fight in the house, and me and my cousins, and all you could hear when Paul out of the good shot, it was just like, yeah.
I know. We're very invested in the fight, obviously, and
class.
Like, the whole training camp, everything up to it was
like
everything went perfect. Like, and the only thing that didn't go our way was the decision. The performance and all was amazing, and we knew, Paul knew himself going into the fight that the first round was going to be like that. Usman's going to be flicking the fast shots out. Thinking about the points game, and Paul would maybe was planning on taking over in the later rounds, and then the head clash obviously killed momentum. Usman got that big breather, and then he was able to maybe have enough energy to shoot down a couple of takedowns and stuff.
Yeah.
Or if there wasn't that pause, could he have done that? I don't think so.
See, when you started coaching, like, did you ever think that you would get to the height of coaching elite fighters like this and being on the world stage?
It was always like whenever I get into coaching, I was like, right, I'm all in with this, and I'll go with this path. It was always a plan to work with the best fighters in the country and stuff. But thankfully, like, and it's good for me with the likes of Paul and even Joe and stuff and Reese, that I've worked with them right through. Like, so as Paul's progressed as a fighter, I feel like I've really progressed as a coach as well. Like, as he's up leveled, I've had the up level as well, because I'm the coach and I'm directing him and I'm on the journey with him. So I did see it that I would be big nights like Dubai and stuff. I did see that. Like, I did vision things like that, but it's just amazing that it's actually came the truth. You know what I mean?
Unreal. And take us back to the start of your coaching journey. Like, how did you get involved in coaching in the first place?
So I was actually not doing nothing to do with boxing. I'd stopped boxing myself. It was around 19 or 20, and I wasn't doing nothing to do with boxing. And then about a year later, I was in the gym training, and it was actually Stacey, my wife. It was her younger brother Conor, was competing in the Antrims or the Ulsters like himself. He was an amateur boxer at the time. And I says, yeah, I'll get you into the gym. We'll do a wee bit of extra work. And then people had seen me coaching Conor. And Conor had done well. He came from a great boxing club as well, but the extra work definitely helped. And then you had the likes of Big Caine down the line, was maybe the first MMA fighter who I started working with. And then people just seen him improving. And then another person came, and then it just snowballed.
So, see, when you started to coach Caine, was that just on pads, or like boxing striking, or were you incorporating like leg kicks and?
No, never. Just boxing.
Just boxing.
Yeah.
Would that be the same now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, so even if I have the likes of Garden now and stuff in there, they're two Muay Thai, both world champion there, both world champions. I always say to them, like, see the concepts I'm explaining here, apply them to your game. So, like, the setups we're doing, think about your kicks. Like, and I'm never going to teach them how to kick or even try and pad them with kicks.
Yeah.
But I'll talk about different concepts, scenarios, and things like that to get them really thinking, and then they can apply it to their game. And I think that's what works so well, is that I know they're not boxers, or they're not they're Muay Thai fighters or they're MMA fighters, and there's a lot more to it.
I'm watching Paddy and Sean McComb, and they were speaking about Nell and Garrett,
Yeah.
and they were saying that, well, he was saying that they have kind of changed the style of Muay Thai. In it, like in a way where they're
Just letting the hands go more.
it's just like they're more like thinking. They're not actually just fucking walking forward and absorbing the shots. Like
Both of
their
them are so
movement and stuff like that.
Garrett, I trained Garrett when he was maybe, how many years have I trained? 9 years I maybe trained Garrett. Now maybe around 3, and the improvements. Garrett's improved throughout his whole career. He won a world title there, but the improvements I seen in Nell's boxing in the last 2 years was amazing, and it really showed in his world title fight where he was using the jab, he was using his feints, and him and Garrett both come from a great gym Lanka, and they've 2 really good coaches, Jamie Crawford and Davey, 2 really good lads, and it's good that we have a good relationship as well. Do you know what I mean? All the coaches have a good relationship, and we can discuss right what they need to work on, what's going well at the minute, how they're getting on sparring. So I think that's an important factor as well, and same with the Fight Academy lads.
Is that a common thing when it comes to, say, like the unit, the Muay Thai gym and Fight Academy, where they would all, like, if there's a fighter going, say, the 2 of them, or going the, like all 3, would all the coaches coordinate, and is there like that support there as well?
No, definitely. Especially like me and Pat have a really good relationship, and even we were on the phone the other day. I think we were on the phone for 45 minutes, and Pat's a busy man, and getting him for 45 minutes is probably a challenge, but we were able to talk through, I think it was my 8th week up there, and we were able to talk through my aims of the sessions, and I was able to ask him, where are you seeing the lads develop, and is there anything else you need me to touch on, and just running through different fighters and how they're progressing, and like that's really good for both of us, because then Pat knows what I'm doing. I know what Pat wants me to do, because him and Liam are the 2 head coaches, and all I'm doing is developing their boxing skills, their hands for MMA, and it's good that we're all working off the same hymn sheet.
What do you think is the most important out of all 3 of these for an MMA fighter to be successful?
Right.
Striking, wrestling, or BJJ?
If
If you had to scrap one of them and you could still go and become a world champion, so say Paul had to scrap like one of these styles and could still go on to be a world champion, which one would he have to sacrifice? It's tough.
That's a really hard one. Because MMA is obviously mixed martial arts. I think people with a good wrestling base, even though I'm a boxing coach, people with a good wrestling base transfer well into it, because if you have a good wrestling base, you can kind of dictate where the fight goes. You can be really good offensive wrestling and take the fight to the floor. Or you can really be really good defensive wrestling and keep it on the feet. So wrestling is very important, but they're all, like, if you're only good at one of them, you will be found out at the higher level you go by somebody who's very good at the opposite. You know what I mean?
See, out there, like I was going to myself, like, you do need all 3.
You definitely need all
do.
3.
Like to be successful, you do need all 3. Do you think an MMA fighter going in the Muay Thai could win a world title compared to a Muay Thai fighter going in the MMA? These are questions which I didn't even follow right down. They're just, as I said, they just come to you. They just come to you, and I'm just like, fuck
yeah. So an MMA fighter getting in the Muay Thai,
like, who would transition better?
Who would transition better? An MMA fighter, I don't know. It's a hard question. Like,
I'll come back to you on it.
An MMA fighter would transition better, I feel, because they would have some Muay Thai training experience. Yeah. Where a Muay Thai fighter goes into MMA and somebody takes them down, like, they have zero experience on the floor. Do you know what I mean? But whenever you focus on one discipline, there's obviously, like, there's levels to everything. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And even I had, like, Paul's getting to the level now where you're having to maybe bring people in from different disciplines to spar him, because there's a lot of great guys up in Fight Academy to spar him, but he's at a really high level now. So I had Aidan Walsh in, and they done the session together, and I just brought Aidan up just to let Paul see the levels as well. Like, we can still improve here, and they worked off each other and they asked each other, and a load of different styles. He was taking some of the things Aidan was doing, and he was like, right, I like the way he does that. So that in itself's great to work with the different disciplines and stuff. But Yeah.
Uh, so, what's the difference between a good fighter and an elite fighter? May that be like mentally or physically?
Mentally and physically. The, there's a lot of differences. Let me see. So you'll have skill development, so you'll have experience, you'll have mindset, and you'll have decision making would be a big one. So experience and decision making would be the two of the main things I would say. So Paddy McCrory in his last fight there, uh, showed a couple of feints in the fight. The guy reacted to them. Paddy was able to read that and assess it, and then he was able to counter what the guy was doing. And I explained to Pat, the wrestling coach or the MMA coach, sorry. I was like, that's the difference between a good striker and an elite striker. Is Paddy didn't need him to show him it 3 times. He was like, I'll get him to show me it once or twice, and then he capitalized on it. So being able to do that would be a big one for being an elite fighter.
And then, like physically, so and this here is just one of the questions was just like I sent you through last night. Actually, I'll go on to a different one and then I'll come back to that towards the end. So, is there a difference in the types of MMA fighters you saw walk through the doors 5 years ago compared to what you see now they come through the door at Fight Academy?
Yeah. So, like 5 years ago plus, you'd have maybe seen people coming in from different martial arts. Maybe they had a boxing background or Muay Thai background, but now you have the likes of Adam McGarty taking the kids' MMA classes in Fight Academy. So kids are coming into the sport as a whole. Like they're joining MMA and they're starting off with MMA training. So they're doing a wee bit of striking, wee bit of wrestling, wee bit of jiu-jitsu and stuff. So they're getting a wee bit of everything. So what you'll probably find is fighters will be more well-rounded when they're coming in. Where at the start, sometimes it was like, is he a better striker? You still get the question, is he a better striker or grappler? But you'll probably find the further it goes and the more the sport advances, that fighters will be more all-rounded.
Yeah. Do you think McGregor, and like obviously McGregor back in the day is not the same McGregor like he is now? Like I think pre like Mayweather fight, he was class. So it's like his entire aura as well, and the way he presented himself is different to the way he is now. Do you think what he done in MMA is the reason why MMA is so popular now?
Definitely.
In Ireland?
Oh, definitely. Like, once he made it to the pinnacle of the sport, it gave people like Paul, and Paul still says this, obviously, the chance to see that it's possible. And I feel like Paul is, like, doing that now for the... I was going to actually touch on that. For the guys coming through in Fight Academy and stuff, there's this, like, belief now that, like, there's a new ceiling. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's a new... Paul's raised the bar, and it was the same whenever the likes of Joe won the Cage Warriors world title. It was like, right, if Joe can do this, we can do this.
Yeah.
Like, we're with the same coaches, with the same team. So I feel like Paul is doing now what McGregor done them years ago in Fight Academy, which is great to see.
I'd say he's doing it all over the North, like, as well, like, because so many people look up to him now. Like, and what is he, like, 27, 26, 27?
Maybe 27.
Like,
still 19, maybe.
Still 19.
I like him.
Yeah, I tell you what, he's got some hairline. He does. Like Shane Todd always says it in his podcast with him, but his hairline is phenomenal. Like, fuck.
He's got like a wee scar on it now from the fight, and
nice.
Just makes him look even harder. You know what I mean?
it. I like his. Like, see my hairline. See if Augusta Win came through right here now.
I
would be fucked. I would be fucked. But bro, a massive part of your journey is your experience with mental health.
Yep.
So could you bring me through your experience with mental health and exactly what happened?
Right. So, like, we talked about growing up and stuff. Like, mental health was not something like I never really struggled with growing up. It was something that came whenever I was 20. I was 26 at the time. My wife was pregnant with my first son, Donard. And like I said at the start, there was pressures of everything needs to be perfect. You know, everything needs to be in place. The job needs to be secure. House needs to be secure. All these pressures. And it came to the point where I had a bad episode of stress-induced psychosis, which led to me being hospitalized and like for a period of 7 weeks. And then just since then, being diagnosed with a mental illness and just my road to recovery till now. Do you know what I mean?
What was going on in your life leading up to this? like
So-
for this to happen?
Just like I said, so Stacey was pregnant with Donard, and maybe other pressures, maybe coaching pressures, other stresses, running your own business, like you'll know yourself, like comes with stress itself. And I was just, well, what I thought I was dealing with it well, and everything was going to plan, and but looking back now, it wasn't, and like something, I was burning the candle at both ends, and something needed to give, and unfortunately, like, mind.
Was there any warning signs on the build up to this year? Like on the build up?
Now that I've experienced it and looking back, there is warning signs, but at the time, because like I've never experienced anything like this, and even my family and stuff, like I'd maybe never experienced it as
Yeah.
well. They wouldn't have knew the signs to look out for. And looking back now, we're all like, yeah, there was signs, but at the time, nah, nobody really noticed. It was more in hindsight.
Can I ask you what the signs were?
What
You
they,
can
what
notice
they
now.
were, what I can notice now looking back, I would say, so sleep was a big one. So my sleep went to the point where I went maybe 4 or 5 days without sleep. Now, when I say this, it wasn't like it's hard to explain. It wasn't like I was about the house or out and about and not sleeping. I was in bed, laying down. Maybe my eyes were closed, but my mind was not resting.
Yeah.
Like, do you know what I mean? I was maybe waking, like, maybe, like, thinking about the sessions the next day, things that were going on, fights coming up, and I got very, like, what way can I explain it? Like, obsessed with coaching and all things like that. And I was trying to stay on top of everything. And then that's whenever my mind kind of gave way.
Are you able to switch off now?
Yeah, no, have to. Like,
Yeah.
everybody, like, from my experience, like, there has to be that switch off. Like, I would have this conversation. I've had these conversations with people as well. And, like, things like coming up to it, I wouldn't have been able to watch things. And I'd have been like, no, I need to learn about coaching. I would have been all
Yeah.
in on that. We're now doing things with a family. We got a caravan last year, heading up to the caravan, switching
Class.
off for the weekend. Our holidays, things like that. Like, you need the switch off, so you do.
So, bro, you ended up in hospital due to the stress-induced psychosis. Can you just tell me about your journey in hospital and say your road to recovery? What's
Right.
that?
Yeah, so coming up to me being hospitalized, there was like a day or two period where I got really unwell. And then what happened was me and my wife Stacey were actually on a getaway to Derry. And I became so unwell, we had to come home. I went another night without sleeping. And when we came home, my parents thought they'd done the right thing and was like, we need to get onto the mental health team.
Yeah.
So they took the right actions, get onto the mental health team. And what happened was the ambulance calls out, but the police come out with them. And I don't know if this is the situation in the case all the time, but they then brought me to the hospital where I think it was like blood and urine and stuff I had to give.
Yeah.
Because if they do like blood checks and stuff and maybe urine samples to see if because people can go into psychosis through drug-induced psychosis. So they were maybe like ruling things out. But during that time of waiting on results and stuff, I had to go to the police station and spend, I think it was like maybe a day, maybe a day and a half in a police cell.
Fuck, serious? Like, you haven't done anything wrong and you're in a cell?
I know, but
Fuck
at the
me.
time, like I was very manic
Yeah.
and maybe a danger to myself, maybe others. Do you know what I mean? Like,
100%.
it's not the Donard you're speaking to now. You have to understand that. Do you know
Yeah.
what I mean? It was like a different Donard. And so I was in the cell and it's all like a blur to me, so it is. And then I think what happened then was, because it's so much of a blur, it's hard to tell that part of the story. But the psychiatrist or doctor came out and assessed me in the police cell, and the blood results come back or whatever it was come back, and it showed that there was no drugs in the system, that it was in fact drug-induced or stress-induced psychosis. Later on, we found that out. So they then brought me to Rafflin, you call it, Rafflin ward up in Knockbracken. So that was the first place they brought me. But when they brought me there, like when you're in like psychosis in a manic episode, nothing makes sense to you. And all I was thinking about at the time was like, where's Stacey? Is she okay? Stacey was heavily pregnant at the time.
Yeah.
Where's Stacey? Is she okay? I need to make sure she's okay. And when I first got put into hospital, like looking back now, it's mad, but I was thinking, am I in jail? Because I was in the police cell.
Yeah.
So much police there. Wasn't thinking straight, obviously. I was like, am I in jail? So it was so hard to grasp all this, obviously, at the time, especially when you're unwell, to the point where I then was like, I need to get out of here. So I claimed the fence, right? This story's funny. It can be, there's funny parts to it as well.
Yeah.
So I claimed the fence and escaped from the first hospital to them, which led to the police having to come out again, get me into the car, bring me to the hospital again. And then what happened was I had to get moved to a different hospital with a better facility and keeping me detained, basically, like keeping me there. And like I'll get asked sometimes, like, what was it like in the hospital and stuff? But it was just like a big blur. There's parts of it I can remember. There's lots of it I can't remember because at the time I was heavily dosed on medication. So they're trying to figure out what's wrong with you, right? They're trying different medications on you to see what one is going to be the one to help you. And during them times, we are taking different medications and stuff that can actually have negative effects on you, to the point where they can make you go into another manic episode or psychosis. And so it's hard for the doctors as well, where they're trying to figure out what's the best thing to do for this case, and everybody's different. So I spent a period of 3 weeks in the hospital the first time, and then it came to a tribunal where basically you meet up with your family and the psychiatrist, the nurses, everybody comes into like a meeting, and you explain how like you're better, you feel like you're better to get out of hospital and you want to return home. And I get out, so I did, and returned home, but it was definitely not the right time to come home. I still was very unwell, and it led to me being then hospitalized a second time and having to go in the hospital again for another 3 week period.
And was there signs that you could see that when you were getting out the first time that, like you said to yourself, it's not the right time, or is that just in hindsight that you
No,
can see it now?
see when you're unwell, like anybody who knows somebody who's been through this or who's been through it themselves, like you think you're like, the second time I got sick, like and had to go in the hospital again, I was like, no, nothing's wrong with me. Like it's all usings. Like I'm not the issue here. So there's a bit of that as well. But when you're sick like that, you actually feel really good. Like you have loads of energy. You have all these thoughts. You feel like you don't need to sleep. Like you've all that going on. So you don't actually go, I'm sick here. So it's more like, even now with myself now, it would be more like early warning signs and stuff. I would need to recognize like sleep pattern and things like that. But when you're deep into the illness, like it's almost like too late. Yeah. Like hospital is was the best place for me at that time.
Can you remember much of the second stint in hospital compared to the first one?
Yeah, and I remember like towards maybe the last week where you were getting like day passes and stuff, where you were allowed to go out and meet your friends and stuff, and like maybe go out for lunch. And I remember like whenever I was having the return back in the hospital, them being maybe thinking like, you're ready to get out of there, but I still wasn't. Like thinking back now, like I definitely still needed that time in the hospital. But like whenever I was in the hospital, like so many of my friends were coming up to visit me, and the likes of Pat was there, Mark, who owned the gym with, was there. Like it was Stephen Floyd. Like loads of friends were coming up to visit me in the hospital. Like whenever I started to feel a wee bit better, maybe whenever my family thought, right, now he's probably okay to be with people and stuff, where at the start, that was just chaos.
How did they make you feel, your friends, like coming up and showing you like that support?
Good, and
see with this here, like take your time. There's no rush. Because I'd say this is like, is it bringing back emotions and memories and stuff like that?
Probably just stuff I haven't thought about. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Thinking back now, I'm like, fuck, so thankful. And it was definitely like a big factor in recovery. Having a good support system, like definitely, it's like
Yeah.
the main thing in recovery is having a really good support system, but also, um, yeah. So my friends come up to visit me, it was amazing, and I still like say to him about it this day. Like it's mad thinking back to it, and it was a crazy time, but they were still there, obviously, and
Yeah.
my family and stuff as well. So yeah,
I'd say that can give you a bond with your friends, especially like because like I know there's stuff that my friend group has been through and stuff like that. There's like as well, which will always have you as a
yeah, they go
close
through
knit
hardships
friend group.
together. Like
Yeah,
definitely
100%.
brings the bond closer. No, definitely agree with
Yeah.
that.
See when it comes to your recovery, because I would say, especially see with mental health, it's something. It's not like breaking a bone. You like your bones repaired, not you. It's always a constant battle. It's always going to be a constant thing there that you need to keep your
Hmm.
like internal feelings and like your mental health in check. For you, what was the hardest part of recovery or the most challenging? Was it the mental, the emotional, or the physical challenge?
Um, like in my recovery, like so, what was good for me was whenever I get out of hospital. Not long after Donald was born, my first son was born, and like so, I had something to really focus on there. Obviously, becoming a parent for the first time, and then not long after that, we went into lockdown. So, like, I had to take a break from work.
Yeah,
Where if I maybe didn't, would my recovery have been as good? I don't know, but we were able to spend time as a family, me, Stacey, and Donald, and enjoy that time. And there was probably less pressure on me to maybe have to rush back to work
yeah.
and get on with life as normal, and it maybe give me that time to recover at a better rate.
Do you think lockdown worked to your benefit?
Definitely,
Yeah,
yeah. Although it was like a mad time and like it affected a lot of people. Me personally, like I just said there, like the recovery I got during lockdown and maybe that time to myself, and like I remember taking Donald out on the pram, just walks and thinking about it and processing it, and too much of it's bad for you, right?
yeah,
But you need it. I needed that time to go like right going forward here. Like there's things I need to avoid doing. I need to look after myself and things like that.
yeah. Behind every great man is like a great woman,
Yep.
and for you, how important has your wife been to just your journey in life? Like, how important has she been? I get you a few brownie points here.
Fuck me. You slayed by the lads. Um, no, like I touched on earlier, the support system is super important, and like my wife was the best help ever, and stuck by me through it all, and was massive support. Like even her having to go through it as well.
Big shout out to Stacey.
Stacey, yeah.
Big shout out to Stacey. Um, one thing which like I want to ask you is because you're working with fighters who are at the top like levels now, and again that brings its own stress and its own pressures. Do you think your experience and what you have went through with dealing with stress has that helped you become a better like coach and the kind of the advice you'd give and the kind of words of wisdom that you'll pass on?
Yeah, like especially if they're talking about the likes of stress and like maybe they've heard my story as well, and they kind of like it just gives them a better understanding of where stress can actually
Yeah,
lead you. And even the conversations through my own experience, I can tell them like, listen, you need to switch off time. You need to have like your deload weeks and your and things like that. I can pass on to them, which would definitely help me as a coach. But I don't actually know if it's made me a better coach or
yeah.
I don't know. Like everything's led to now, and I'm doing good in the coaching game now. So maybe,
You like touched on earlier that like growing up mental health was never really a big thing.
yeah.
Like for you, you didn't really like think about it. Do you think going through what you've experienced has made you more understanding to mental health case and like in hearing that people are suffering with mental health?
Yeah, no, definitely. And like I remember before becoming unwell, thinking like, no, that would never affect me, and that could never happen to me.
Yeah,
But you don't get the pick, and now that it has happened to me, I can be more empathetic with it. And I spent a lot of time just before my second son, Jax, was born, I was actually going into the hospitals and I was a peer mental health advocate. So I was going around the likes of the wards and stuff and having conversations with people who was in the hospital as a peer and talking to them, and you're listening to a wee bit of their story and you're saying, listen, you're providing that wee bit of hope and stuff as well. So I enjoyed doing that. But obviously it's a lot trying to balance everything.
100%.
But yeah, I feel like down the line, like I'll always be involved in coaching, but there is definitely more to give in terms of like mental health awareness and things like down the line. Even the likes of this podcast, like speaking about your story and stuff could massively help somebody. Like I listen to a lot of podcasts and I've heard people tell their story and it's helped me. Do you know what I mean? So hopefully somebody listens to this and maybe they can relate. And I heard something that says somebody who recovers loudly will help somebody suffering silently. So
unreal.
I feel like that's a good point.
100%. Like even if this helps one person, you know what I mean, that's we've done our job.
Like I'm complete introvert. Like I don't want to be doing podcasts,
100%.
even interviews, but it's not about me sometimes. Do you know what I mean? It's about what effect it can have. Positive effect.
100%. If you could go back and give yourself advice before this happened, what would you say to yourself?
Before I became unwell?
Yeah.
Just slow things down. Things will fall into place naturally. Stop putting pressure on yourself. And like we were talking about earlier before the cameras were rolling, we were talking about like control the controllables.
Yeah.
And anything that's not really in your control, try not to stress about it, because like what we're saying, like stress, like if you're stressed about something you can't control, like it's pointless and you're putting yourself under that pressure. And what I would really say to do is focus on the things you can control as best you can.
Yeah.
To help with everything.
100%. Just a few questions here to ask you. So, what's the most common trait you've noticed that every elite fighter has that the others don't have?
Elite fighters have that other
say a mental trait or a quality which all elite fighters have, which you have trained that you need to be an elite fighter.
I would say some of the most important ones to have. One of the big ones to have would be focus. Like mental focus. Being able to vision your plan, obviously, and your goals, but also like stay focused and stay on plan. Like, so no distractions, stick with the plan, and like getting fighters from maybe the age of 15 to maybe early 20s is maybe the hardest bit.
Yeah.
Where they're getting these outside factors with the people, their friends going out to the bars, and the fighters who can get through that, I feel like any of them could progress on to do great things in the sport.
Can I ask you your most proudest moment in coaching?
Most proudest moment in coaching? Let me think.
That's it's a tough one as well, like, isn't it? It's
obviously Paul getting to the world title is massive. It's up there, definitely in the top 3. Joe McColgan winning the Cage Warriors world title, definitely up there. And then there was another 2. So many amateur boxers who have helped throughout the years achieve things. 2 in particular. One was a kid called Ruben who he was a novice and he went through all the ranks in 1 year. So he won the Antrim 3s, which is 3 fights and under. The Antrim 6s, which is 6 fights and under. The Open Antrims, which anybody can enter if you're from Antrim. And then he went on to win the All Irelands all in 1 year in a clean sweep. And it was a massive achievement. And then the likes of young Marty McCulloch, who I've coached from when he was a kid, winning the under 18 All Irelands, representing Ireland and winning the European medal and stuff. It was a great achievement as well.
Unreal. And what would you say is next in store for you?
Next in store for me, just keep doing what I'm doing here. Obviously working with more fighters now than I was there a while back. It's great that Fight Academy have given me the opportunity to come up and work with so many fighters. Like the way I explained it was, there's a room for the fighters now. It's only an hour of my time. Obviously, time goes into planning and stuff like that, but it's hard to get working with all the fighters on a one-to-one basis. So that gave me a great opportunity to work with a lot of good, talented fighters in that short space of time, if that makes sense. So just pursue on with that. grow the business. Obviously, the unit is my own gym. We do the small group personal training as well as the boxing training. Me, Sam Carson and Mark Rainey.
Sam Carson actually asked the question.
What was it, about a fair dig or something? What was
Nah, he says, what is your calorie intake?
At the minute, probably 5,000 plus now.
See, when you're taking your sessions for boxing in
Yep.
Fight Academy, is it more technique or is it more of a dogging like session? More of like fucking a beasting session?
No, so like you have to understand, seeing if you're like taking part within an MMA training week, they do a lot of hard sessions. They'll have like their wrestling with Pat, they'll have their striking with Shando, and then they'll have their strength and conditioning with their coaches. So because I only have that 1 hour with them, so most of them, I try and make it as like educational as possible for them, and like we'll do like loads of technical drills, and then we'll move on to like tactical stuff. So I'll teach the skill, and then we'll go on about how we apply this into their game.
Yeah.
So it'll be more of that rather than just beasting them, because they're getting a lot of that with the volume of training they're doing, because of they cover so much disciplines
100%,
throughout the week.
See, when you were in Dubai, did you get to meet Khabib?
No, we was just in the opposite corner, and then
Yes.
after we shook hands and stuff. But
That's it.
when I went to Dubai, I was talking about this with my dad as well. I was like, I'm gonna have to switch all that off. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so whenever I got to Dubai and got to the arena and all, I was like, maybe I'll get nervous when I get to the arena, or maybe I'll get nervous when I see Islam and Khabib and Javier Mendez and Usman, and then I kind of went into like an alter ego where it was like, no, like Paul's at this level, we're the team, we're at this level,
Yeah.
and we're getting in here. This is our opponent, and that's the way we all had to look at it. It wasn't like I wasn't at the other side of the cage going, "Whoa, there's Khabib." I was like delved into the task at hand.
Do you think PFL can overtake UFC?
It would be hard. It would be a big job to overtake UFC, but they're doing good things, and I think Paul will do great things for the company. Like even the way the last fight was promoted, and even the fight, and no doubt the rematch will be even bigger. Like it'll do great things for the company.
100%. Last question to ask you, just if you could give a message to one person who's watching this that is suffering from mental health, what advice would you give?
The advice I would give to somebody who is struggling with mental health issues would be to be open and honest about it. Talk with friends, talk with family. And I know a lot of people say, like, especially in the likes of West Belfast and all, there's not much help out there, but there is great services as well. So maybe reach out to the services depending on what it is where you need the help, and take it from there. And a big part of recovery is believing in yourself and wanting to do good yourself. Like you have to want it as well. Like when I became unwell, like if I had just been like, hopefully I get better, it maybe wouldn't have happened. Like I had to want to get better as well.
Yeah.
So I think that is a big factor. So what I would say is just be open and honest about it. Have these conversations with friends, with family, seek professional support, and know that you're not alone in suffering, and there's other people out there with similar stories and similar experiences, and that's it.
Thank you very much, bro. I appreciate you coming on, Donald. You're an
worries.
absolute gentleman.